All right. There's an idea that I thought that I should explore, and it started with me thinking about. Oh boy, yeah, I'm definitely sounding as not well as I feel at the moment, but it's still early in the day, so I have all kinds of energy. One of the things that is starting to happen is that groups of lawyers are already starting to figure out, okay, Trump's going to try to do these things. So he's going to be very likely elected with a very large portion of the society supporting his agenda, but a bunch of lawyers don't. So they need to figure out how to cause chaos and mayhem and muck everything up. Not that really what they're trying to do is to deal with something having to do with rights, or no, they're just, and Louis C.K. just kind of exposed it. They exposed the psychology behind it. They do just want to mess everything up. That's all it is. Liberals just like the idea of causing chaos. It's just something about that personality type and that cluster when they're yeah. But then I had to think some more about this. You get these very disciplined people that just want to cause chaos with their highly disciplined end of intellectual skills. Now, I started thinking about, so it's really that these are literally, like how Lao Tzu says, I just hope that the knowledgeable will not be cruel. That this is literally one of the most unholy of things, when the knowledgeable just simply start figuring out, well, what we're going to do is tie you up in front of, the arbitrator of problems forever. So it's not really that they're trying to solve an issue. They just want to cause problems. Everybody knows this since we were children. There's people who do this when we were a kid. And so you start figuring out, like, okay, no, there's these mindsets that never grow beyond that to a great extent. They can't make their argument to the public. Most importantly, and that because it's the liberal vote is the woman's vote, what this fundamentally means is that either their ideas are worse or they're worse at making their ideas seem like good ideas. Bada boom, bada bing. They should just accept that and understand that's typically why they don't run countries. Well, other than into the ground, which is makes me think of Europe a little. What's going on there? That it's going to be a tough one there because of how soft they've gotten on always listening to their hoes. But at some point that is going to be a thing of, no, ladies, you're going to just have to accept that this is a better idea. So, something that, we'll see though, we'll see. But what started to hit me is I was like, so you have these people sort of barreling toward wickedness, or they're with the momentum of wickedness, they're barreling toward, perdition? I guess that would be the thing, the road to perdition. And so I started to think about this a bit. One, because also so much of the Trump vote is skewing younger now. This is actually this is what now people are pointing out, is that the Democratic vote are a bunch of old college-educated bints. And they're old, resentful women that, and they have nothing but just sort of, there's nothing, they can't make the world a better place. They fucked that chance up a long time ago in some way in their own personal lives. Or they did that, and now they're just bent and demented. and Trump just makes them want to, cause all kinds of mischief and witchcraft. So I started to think, as opposed to what? And then it really hit me. So people, this was another thing I was thinking this morning. Don't freak out the normies. I believe that was an Aaron Clary statement. Or Beckloff. Don't freak out the normies. Have some understanding of, like, you're trying to appeal to people here, people. So I started to think about, well, what was it, things about Trump and his appeal. And then I started to remember all the guys who went sober. Then there's the whole thing about the God pill. People don't become crazy, militant, crazy people. No, they become religious. They suddenly see this idea that, no, the universe is ruled by love. And when you embrace all these terrible things, well, inevitably you lose. And now the liberal enclaves, you are showing this. You are anti-Trump. You are not sober. You don't even, like, this idea of, you're not really that sure about religion, but you kind of got this feeling there's more to life than this. It seems like that shouldn't be happening. Well, that's the issue. Is, that's kind of the Christianity that Donald Trump has been showing people. That it's like he's not exactly sure, but there's definitely something more going on. And that he has fundamentally a respect for something that he has only so much knowledge about. Because that's become clear that is actually how he behaves. That he's, you have to know what to listen for. There's sometimes where he's being bombastic, but other times that he's actually saying, like, this is his extent of knowledge about it. And how he does that. He does it actually very well, compared to a lot of other people who in public discourse that really sort of will talk about things that they just haven't done the requisite research and won't admit, like, oh, but that's to my extent of knowledge. Like, I try to do that as often as possible. Admit what I don't know, because YouTube is great. People will tell you. People will, like, leave you all these links. Will, like, learn all this great stuff, They'll send you a book. YouTube's great. They'll send you a book. Somebody from your comment section will be like, you wanted to know about this? Here's a book, I love that. I love that about the way social media has progressed in that fashion. I think some of us old guys use social media a little better. Anyway. Leslie Headland has proven a white man does it better. Just wanted to put that out there. Going to keep posting that one every so often. White men do that better, apparently. There was this white guy totally did it better than all of you. It's really weird. But anyway, but people went sober. That was a big thing that hit me, was how often I heard that. Young men that got off behavior drugs, or young men that got off drugs and behavior drugs or drug drugs because of Donald Trump. They somehow, he made them want to be sober. And this seemed to pop up. Yeah, I just was very impressed with that. It was one of those things of a mental note. This guy has made people want to stop taking drugs. And I was like, I'm betting this is going to come back. And the reason why I was thinking that kind of idea is that I'm thinking that that's going to come back, and there's going to be that person who's going to have some kind of, they're going to be speaking publicly, they're going to suddenly break into, they used to be a drug addict, And then in 2014, they changed their ways because of the inspiration they had from the politics of the time. And that's something I'm thinking that it's just that inkling I have that's going to come back, that mental note that I've seen that in comments. I've seen that I saw that when I was still on Twitter. People saying like, no, I stopped taking this, or I stopped doing that. Donald Trump, blah blah blah. And so but the big one though is how many people have gotten legitimately God-pilled. And then also, more importantly, that YouTube has then brought up talks between churches that this is the first time in history this could ever happen. I mean, like Orthodox and Catholics having real good solid debate about like this document, that document, blah 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 blah. Like, this is great. This is an amazing time to see that people are the verboten subjects can be talked about so vociferously, and that there's legions of people who think because of their expertise in the law, because they work for some public institution supposedly doing science, or because they just work for some public institution, and so their job's threatened. So therefore, they're going to, you need to stop talking the way you do. You need to stop thinking the way you do. No, you need to understand. We come first in your society is the fundamental way they're looking at it. And that they can form a kind of coalition to secretly, constantly stymie everything that's coming. And why tolerate people like that? Now I'm at the place that I hadn't thought about. How long will we tolerate the wicked? These people who, they know what they're doing. Louis C.K. made it absolutely clear. And these broken people in our society, these artists, these worthless, broken people who just hate society because no one would pay them for their songs or their drawings. And then they had to get a job like the rest of us peasants. But no, you see, in liberalism, TM, in that church, they're special. They're special deacons. They're some epo of artistic enlightenment. They don't have to work like the rest of us. They art. Oh boy. And the 60s really, really messed a lot of people up in that regard. I remember I didn't really take seriously the conversation that this one young man brought up. That what he brought up, I should have realized that somewhere in his milieu of people who are soft on rioting, that this idea that the artists are of some incredible importance, and that there's like a category of people that they're the artists, and that this is something I really encountered with millennials. Here's a part that actually I don't know if I ever told you guys about this, that when I worked at that coffee shop, there was the person who was the actual performer, and she had her own way she talked about things, because she actually planned and did performances and wrote, her songs. But then there was the kind of the people that, I mean, they did performances and stuff. It seemed like fundamentally they were kind of at that stage that, it's like kind of kooky kid artists. So they get gigs, but they put stuff out, but it also, they didn't know where they were in life, and well, they would talk about artists as if they were a class of sort of like quasi-divine being. And I didn't like, but I mean, not really, but I mean, sort of like a group set aside, a kadosh, that the artists are some special group. And I started to also pick this up here with people who say they do science, but they're not people who spent like a decade in research, and they definitely will not do science for profit, ever. That's key to Oregon. Science is not supposed to be for profit. It's always theory, nothing but theory. So I started really like rolling around how I would encounter this with millennials specifically. That the older people had to deal with, I have to do research. I have to work for a chemical firm if I'm going to go into science. But the millennials didn't really seem to have quite the same mentality. And so I started to really run into this, that there were these people who kind of endlessly were theorizing. And I understand it. It was one of these things like, yeah, like I never opened a dojo. But at a certain point I realized, but also I don't like getting knocked out in fights. And so if I wanted to open a dojo, I would have to fight, and then I would have to get knocked out in fights. And that was the whole point of me even engaging in martial arts in the first place, was not to get into fights and get knocked out in them. That was the whole point. And I had to sit back and really roll through that. Why did I study that art? For the love of the art, amateur. For the love of it. Not, I didn't do it so that I could be a pro. And, that I didn't want to make a ton of cash off it or something. I did it because I liked it. And when I couldn't do it anymore because I had other things I had to do, I did those other things. And and I accept that that's the way life is. That's the way what you do with your life. But I started to, and I think that kind of gets, because I know if for me, I felt like, so you had to come to terms with that. So I'm like, wait a second. I'm betting that's what you're seeing. These are people that their generation, it's even harder to come to terms with that. It's not giving up on something. You invest your energy into something else. Like, I started reading lots, and like I wasn't doing martial arts much for a long time because I was doing lots of research on why are people always talking about the Illuminati and Freemasons. So I did lots of research on it. Then why do people talk about Austrian economics? Did a lot of research on it. I had to not do a lot of martial arts, and that's it. You do what you can, to have a full life. I think there's these people that they really don't get. They think that what you'll get good things out of society if society is chaotic. I really think that there's a lot of baby boomers and Gen Xers quite specifically, and I think the millennials saw how it was ruinous. Everything shows me the millennials fucked around and found out. But these people who are still comfortable with their law jobs and their government institutional jobs and their NGO jobs and stuff like that, they still want to cause chaos. And it's the idea of like that the endless revolution will always, cause people to have amazing creative this, that, and the other, rather than it just makes life for the young chaos. And there's just a bunch of old folks that actually, like, they think so much of themselves, and they did, a lot of them didn't have kids, or notoriously fucked up their kids, like baby boomers tended to do, notoriously so. So it's that kind of thing. We're really seeing this start to not congeal in the vote, but it's that we're starting to see this. I mean, it really is an absolute divide coming across the entire Eurosphere, like a socio-political divide. That there's these people who obviously want the endless revolution and chaos, and they absolutely do not give a shit about the young, outside of paying teachers who are not the young. and that's it. I mean, I'm kind of enjoying that this is starting to become so clear. All right, talk to you guys later.